wildlife conflicts in Taita Taveta County from 2013 to date, detailing the nature of their claims and the status of their payments. And 4, provide reasons for both the delayed payments of compensation to claimants and the instances where they receive only partial payments from the awarded amount. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mudigi Alexander.
Mr. Speaker, sir, before I state my statement, I read my statement. There is a lot of noise here, and the statement is,
Senators.
Before I read my statement, a lot of noise, and the statement I'm going to read, it is about education teachers, and chairman is making a lot of noise.
No, you are protected. Proceed. Make your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Request for statement on the welfare of teachers engaged to administer and make national examination. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to standing under 53(1) to check a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the welfare of teachers engaged by the Kenya National Examination Council, NHIF, to administer and make national examination. In the statement, the committee should 1. Tape the contract entered into by NHIF and teachers who are engaged to administer and mark national examination, disclosing the party that negotiate the term of the contract on behalf of the teachers. 2. State the remuneration package for the teachers, explaining the criteria used to undermine the remuneration. Clarify whether there are any plans to enhance the welfare and remuneration packages for the teachers engaged to administer and mark national examinations to cushion them from the rising cost of living. Inform the Senate of all outstanding allowances payable to teachers who previously administered and marked national examinations, stating when the allowances and accrued interest will be paid, and outline measures put in place by the government to ensure the timely payment of allowances to teachers who will administer and mark the 2023 national examination. Senator Mudigi, Embu County.
Senator Okiya Omtata.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53, Clause 1, to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the failure by the Ministry of Education to harmonize the issuance of scholarships nationwide. In the statement, the committee should 1. State the reasons for failure by the Ministry of Education to harmonize the issuance of scholarships and bursaries nationwide. 2. Explain why needy students still struggle to transition from primary to secondary schools and to tertiary education institutions, despite there being a government policy on 100% transition, yet there are government scholarships and bursaries that are supposed to help them in this transition. State whether the ministry has a public database of all those who receive scholarships and bursaries, which would aid in ensuring that public money is used to support deserving cases, and that no student receives funding from multiple sources. Provide county-based data on scholarships and bursaries the ministry has issued since 2013, when county governments came into force. Thank you.
Next statement is by Senator Joseph Githuku, Lamu County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Road, Transport and Housing regarding the open mines left by the contractor for the Gariseni Lamu Road construction project. In the statement, the committee should, 1, outline the step taken by the government to ensure the open mines left by the contractor for the Gariseni Lamu Road construction projects are refilled, noting that they continue to pose safety risk on human and animals. Number 2, indicate the timelines of the rehabilitation of the open mines to address the safety concern. And number 3, provide details of the contractual obligation and oversight mechanism in place to ensure that the contractor are held accountable for restoring land used in any road construction. Statement number 2, it is on the status of NHIF cover rolled out by the county government of Lamu. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the rollout of NHIF cover by the county government of Lamu. In the statement, the committee should indicate whether there has been a change in policy necessitating the registration of all persons previously registered for the NHIF cover in Lamu, stating whether public participation was conducted. Number 2, disclose the total expenditure vis-a-vis the allocated funds per family for the NHIF cover. Number 3, outline the criteria that the households should meet in order to be eligible for enrollment in the health cover funded by the county government. And number 4, clarify whether the health cover funded by the county government of Lamu include provisions of emergencies and chronic diseases, and if so, to what extent. Statement number 3, on the management of the county scholarship program in Lamu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the management of county scholarship program in Lamu County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the reasons leading to the reduction of money allocated for the county scholarship program from 176 million to 120 million. Number 2, provide details of all applicants and beneficiaries of the said program over the financial year 2022-2023 to date, outlining any conditions imposed by the county government for one to qualify for the program. Number 3, investigate allegations that the county government of Lamu has discriminated against certain communities in Lamu County during the issuance of the scholarship in the name of affirmative action. Number 4, outline any measures the county government of Lamu has put in place to ensure accountability and transparency in recruiting, assessing, and shortlisting successful applicants for the scholarship program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Next is Senator David Wafula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education concerning the operational viability of Webuye campus of Masinda Muliro University of Science and Technology. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a report on the operational status of Webuye campus of Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, shedding light on the reports that the campus is collapsing. 2, state the number of students at the campus and disclose actions that have been initiated to address reported decline of student population at the Webuye campus. 3, state the criteria used by the government during this academic year student admission process, noting that Webuye campus of Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology was not allocated any student admission slots, and 4, elucidate on the status and plans relating to the land in Webuye that was acquired with the aim of expanding the campus. Senator Wafula Wakoli, MP, Senator Bungoma.
Thank you, Senator Sige Christo.
Thank you, Speaker. Very frustrated Kenyan musicians have sent me here today to rise, pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on the status of the implementation of the court order mandating the Registrar of Trade Unions to register the Kenyan Musicians Union. In this statement, the committee should provide an update on the progress made by the Registrar of Trade Unions in complying with the court order issued by Justice James Rika on 22nd of August 2023, stating timelines for its full implementation, and clarify any factors or circumstances hindering the registration of the Kenyan Musicians Union, if any. Thank you.
Senator Redama Orekina. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the non-remittance of death and disability benefits to public servants, public service employees in compliance with Section 6, 4, and 30 of the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act of 2012 for the members of the scheme. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should, number 1, state whether the PSSS Board of Trustees has undertaken an audit and documented all death and disability claims from the institutions governed by the PSSS Act 2012 that have not been settled from the year 2021 to date. Number 2, provide details on whether the nominated beneficiaries or executors or rightful owners have received the death in service disability benefit in line with this act. Number 3, state when the next of kin of the 4,094 teachers, and I'm happy that Senator Mundigi was raising a concern about teachers, that died since the year 2016, and the over 30,000 recorded occupational illnesses and injuries would be paid their benefit. Number 4, provide details on when further disciplined services like NPS, Kenya prisons, will be fully compensated, noting that there exist over 1,000 outstanding death and disability claims pertaining to period from 2016 to 2018. Number 5, give details on why the National Police Service and the Kenya Prison Service were provided with only 1 year benefit by the National Health Insurance Fund as the insurer, as opposed to 5 years life and death disability as per the PSSS Act of 2012. Number 6, state whether the judiciary has procured the insurance benefit for their staff in line with this act. Number 7, give details on whether the Public Service Commission, the Teacher Service Commission, the Judiciary Service Commission, and the National Police Service Commission work injury benefit, or what is referred as WIBA, and the group personal accident, GPA, claims as well as medical benefit and riding covers therein for all public servants. This is the claims which should cover from 2016 to 2023 that have not been paid since the inception of the HRM manual in 2016 have been paid. Number 8, indicate whether the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, on behalf of the Public Service Commission, wrote a circular to all public institutions on the mandatory, and I want to repeat this, Mr. Speaker, on the mandatory requirement on the PSSS Act, number 8 of 2012, and the Human Resource and Procedures Manual of May 2016. State, number 9, if the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, in collaboration with the National Treasury and in compliance with Section F15.1.2, page 101 of the booklet, subsection, source the compensation fund on the Human Resource and Procedures Manual of May 2016 has set aside all budgetary allocation under each procurement plan for each public institution, and whether it has availed it to the National Health Insurance Fund in line with the approvals by the National Treasury, Gazette number 27 of 20th March 2020, Gazette Notice number 3105 of the 17th of April 2020, and Gazette number 4240 of the 16th of June 2020, where NHIF was allowed to operate as a fully fledged licensed insurance company, albeit not regulated by the IRA, to insure the government and all its affiliated personnel. And finally, number 10, Mr. Speaker, indicate if the circular to direct all the public institutions under the PSSS Act 2012 provided their staff data to the National Hospital Insurance Fund to facilitate provision of the cited cover, with premium having been paid by the government through the National Treasury. The classes of insurance as per the Act of the HRM, the Act and the HRM manual are, number 1, medical insurance benefit, and these can be found in page 58, D4, 1 and 2C of the HRM manual. Group life and disability cover for 5 years, basic salary on page 75, D38, 2. Number 3, group personal accident, 5-year basic salary on page 102, 103, item F17. And lastly, Work Injury Benefit Act, 8 years gross pay on page 102, 103, item F17. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important statement, and I hope that the committee that will assign this statement will follow through to ensure that our civil servants are compensated. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Senator Aminda Kibwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My statement is on ongoing demolitions and report on illegal land grabbing of Athi River Mavoko constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on the ongoing demolitions and reports of illegal land grabbing of LR number 7815/1, 10424, 10425, 8784/4, and 8786 in Athi River, Mavoko constituency, said to belong to the East African Portland Cement Company. In the statement, the committee should verify land transactions involving the disputed parcels LR number 7815/1, 1042/4, 1042-5, 8784-4, and 8786 in Athi River Mavoko constituency to establish the rightful owners and address the claims of illegal occupation. Number 2, disclose the role played by the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development and the National Land Commission in the alleged irregular in the land documents issued, stating whether a forensic audit to establish the extent of corruption and land grabbing can be initiated. Number 3, undertake a visit of the land and establish whether the government intends to compensate individuals holding title deeds issued by the ministry whose properties were demolished. Number 4, state the process undertaken by county governments when approving architectural and structural drawings prior to commencement of developments, disclosing how the building plans for the infrastructure development on the land came to be approved. Number 5, provide an assurance that buyers of land can trust the accuracy of land title searches and the authenticity of title deeds issued by the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. And number 6, recommend legal and regulatory reforms to prevent such land disputes and loss of investments by innocent Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Last but not the least, Senator Chalgei Samson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I urge my colleague to listen to this statement keenly. Mr. Speaker, sir, request for statement on interdiction of teachers seeking to be transferred from Northeastern region over alleged insecurity in line with the localization policy. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Committee on Education on the interdiction of teachers seeking to be transferred from Northeastern region in line with the TSC teacher delocalization policy allegedly due to insecurity. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee should one, give the status of implementation of teachers delocalization policy, specifically for teachers who have sought to be transferred to their home counties from Northeastern region, stating the number of requests pending approval and when these requests will be finalized. So, Speaker, sir, number 2, explain why the Teacher Service Commission resolved to interdict teachers who requested to be transferred pursuant to the delocalization policy, despite the concerns and the hostility the said teachers face in their workstations. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, sir, outline any actions the Teacher Service Commission has taken to address the security concerns expressed by non-local teachers, as evidenced by rising incidences of attacks and hostilities exhibited against the said teachers in their current duty stations. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, sir, state any plans in place to secure the upcoming national examinations and teachers with specific focus on the distribution and administrating of the said examination in these potentially insecure regions. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, state the reasons for the inordinate delay in the approval by the Teacher Service Commission of requests from teachers wishing to be transferred despite having complied with all the requirements, noting that the said regions were offered an opportunity to employ teachers from the local communities. And Mr. Speaker, I can say the right to life is very important, Mr. Speaker, and you cannot interdict teachers simply for demanding not to be, Mr. Speaker, not to be transferred.
Can you address your statement? What is that you are telling me? Read the statement as it is.
Mr. Speaker, I have finished. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. To summarize this session on statements, I want to give at least 2 senators to make comments on generally on all the statements. and not on the statement that you have made. Senator Manzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to comment on the just concluded statement by Honorable Chelagai and the one for Amida Ali, that under the law of employment, you cannot interdict someone when they seek to be transferred, which is a procedural way, and you have to be given an opportunity to be heard. So I think Teacher Service Commission really needs to relook at this, so that teachers who have been interdicted for requesting want to save their lives or to join their families and have given good reason that they should be given back their jobs. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, about demolitions. This country has a policy that before you do demolitions, you make a consultation with the local leadership, and it has been so proposed by the Deputy President. And again also, the law is very clear on technicalities after the new constitution, that you cannot dismiss any case now in Kenya purely on technicalities. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, on demolitions and when you under the suffering of people and the destruction of property, Mr. Speaker, of which if there is an appeal or there is a following case or something is proven wrong, Mr. Speaker, then the damage becomes too much for the government, yet that action has been taken by people even without proper consultation or instructions from their respective ministries. Mr. Speaker, finally, the issue of revocation of title deeds. There is only one National Land Commission which can do so upon public participation, and or if a fraud or a crime has been proven. And also, you can the rest of the titles under the trusteeship of the counties. The national government has no, under the current law, the national government has no mandate to deal with any title in any way other than the National Land Commission or the counties. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I support all the statements posted by members today. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, these statements, if you need to make a comment, it's just 2 minutes. You don't need a lot of time like it's a debate time. 2 minutes just to make your comment. Senator David Wakoli, Wafula.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii. Kwanza ningeanza kwa kuzungumzia hoja ama jibu ambalo tunalitafuta kuhusiana na uhamisho ama kufutwa kazi kwa walimu ambao walikuwa naomba uhamisho kwenda katika maeneo ambayo yana usalama na ambayo kazi yao itashukuriwa na serikali. Ni kinyume cha matarajio Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu tume ya uajiri walimu huandika walimu kazi na haiwaandiki maafisa wa polisi ama vikosi vya vigilante kazi ya kudhibiti usalama katika maeneo hayo. Na sisi kama Senate lazima tusimame na walimu kuhakikisha kwamba iwapo mazingira ya kazi si mwafaka, kuhakikisha kwamba wanatimiza majukumu waliofanya ama majukumu waliopewa, lazima tuhakikishe kwamba yale wanayotarajia kupata wapate. Na naomba kwamba jumba la Senate liamrishe TSC kuwarejesha kazini walimu hao kwa sababu hawakupewa nafasi kujitetea, na pia ni kinaya kwa sababu katika jumba la Senate katika serikali ya Kenya ambamo mimi ni mshiriki mkubwa wa Kenya Kwanza, kwamba viongozi wa maeneo haya walitazama kwa macho walimu walipokuwa wanafutwa kazi pasipo kupaza sauti. Sasa lazima tuwape haki walimu hawa ili wanafunzi wa nchi ya Kenya wapate yale ambayo wanastahili kupata. Jambo la pili Mheshimiwa Spika, ni ile hoja ambayo Mheshimiwa ametaja kuhusiana na gharama ya afya ama zile pesa ambazo serikali inapaswa kupata kwa mfumo wa NHIF. Tukiangaza katika kaunti mbalimbali Mheshimiwa Spika, tunagundua kwamba kaunti zimeanza kupata mpenyezi ama nyenzo za kupora pesa kwa kuwapa watu binafsi ama na biashara kazi ya kulipa gharama za afya ili
Senator Olekina Redama.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the statement by Senator Hamida on this really inhumane act of vandalism. You know, the residents of Mavoko municipality who are evicted from their homes, and yet we have a defined process, a system where you think it's a due process of the law, where you get a title guarantees you ownership of that property. You are given land. You know, historically, Mr. Speaker, an allotment letter will guarantee you, if you go to Narok, Kajiado, and most counties, you'll find that people, for them to prove that they have land, they will give you an allotment letter. But now, it seems like we have different jurisdictions. The court comes out and come up with a ruling that says an allotment letter is not a valid title, or it is not proof that you own that piece of land. Then what is it? I think it is about time that we care about Kenyans. You know, Mheshimiwa William Ruto alisema, said that no one will ever be kicked out of their land. They will negotiate with the landowners. So if this land belongs to the government, because Senator Hamida has made it very clear, the people of Machakos are Kenyans. If this land belongs to the government, as they are saying, or belong to East African Portland, why could they not go and negotiate with them? Why? Why are we applying selective amnesia? I think it's about time that the Lands Department of this country, and also the Committee on Lands, take this matter seriously. Those people of Machakos County are human beings. If that land was now determined completely that belongs to East African Portland, then they're given some time to relocate and to be able to be given a time to appeal. And what was so ironical, Mr. Speaker, which really shocks a lot of people, is that the next day, after those houses were demolished, there was an advertisement of sale of that land. Shame on them. You know, these are Kenyans. And if we don't stand strong and fight for our Kenyans, we might as well fold and go home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let us hear the chair, Lance.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to make my comments on the statement sought by Senator Samson Cherargei on the interdiction of teachers who sought transfers from Northeastern region. Honorable Speaker, just as it is in the substance of this particular statement, every Kenyan or every person has a right to a good working environment, Honorable Speaker. And the reasons why transfer are allowed, and it is not illegal to seek for a transfer, Honorable Speaker, is if the conditions under which you are working are not very favorable, Honorable Speaker. So you cannot punish somebody, Honorable Speaker, because they have sought a transfer and because they feel that the conditions that they are working at are not very favorable, Honorable Speaker. More to it, Honorable Speaker, a teacher is a person that has been tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that we get a good generation in the coming days, Honorable Speaker. We entrust our children with the teachers, Honorable Speaker. So if the person that has been entrusted to taking care of our kids is not comfortable wherever they are working, Honorable Speaker, it is then very ridiculous that we would sack that person just because he or she sought to move to a place that they feel that the working conditions are better, Honorable Speaker. So I actually implore on the Committee on Education that is led by the Senator for Muranga, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that they unearth and get justice for these particular teachers, Honorable Speaker. It was very inhumane, Honorable Speaker, that when they went to TSC to get answers to these particular questions, Honorable Speaker, they were tear-gassed by policemen, Honorable Speaker. I don't think that that is what we should be able to do with such an integral part of our workforce, Honorable Speaker, as the teachers, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Wamatinga Wahome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this, the statement on the demolition of the quotas in Mavoko. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is indeed very, very sad that in the 21st century, where we are in digital era, where people are issued with title deeds which is equivalent to legal tender, that someone would be able to issue title deed in a country where we have DCI, in a country where we have functional systems, in a country where the banks even would give people money to construct houses, in a country where county governments will give licenses to construct and lay levies on the construction, and yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, they would come and demolish the houses. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is indeed very, very sad that you will conduct a search from the Office of Registrar. You will be given a clean bill of health. You have no other resort than to assume that the land is clean, only for you, Mr. Speaker, sir, to be told that the title deed was illegally allocated. Mr. Speaker, sir, we must as a government, we must as a house, and we must as elected leadership, we must stand up and put measures and framework in place to ensure that there is no person in this country who will lose money in the hands of unscrupulous business people who collaborate with government officials to defraud Kenyans of their money. Mr. Speaker, sir, it does not matter which side of the government or the political divide we are in. We are all Kenyans, and we must stand up to count that Kenyans cannot continue losing money year in, year out, Mr. Speaker, sir. In this time and age of digitalization, we will demand that the Registrar of Land, Mr. Speaker, sir, asserting that all title deeds held by Kenyans are indeed issued by the government, and therefore they are legal tenders and valid, and nobody is going to lose money, Mr. Speaker. As I sit down, Mr. Speaker, sir,
Senator Joe Nyutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to make much contribution about the statements sought relating to teachers and their welfare, Mr. Speaker, because by so doing, I could be prejudiced because we are supposed to deal with this matter at Education Committee. But, Mr. Speaker, let me say, relating to the statement sought by Senator Cheralgei, that it is evil, it's immoral, Mr. Speaker, for a teacher to be interdicted because they were not able to survive in a place that is prone to insecurity, Mr. Speaker. So I do not want to go into the nitty-gritties about the same because this will be explained at the committee level, Mr. Speaker, by TSC. But allow me to comment on the statement sought by Senator Hamida relating to evictions and demolitions in Machakos, Mr. Speaker. We all condemn any inhuman demolitions, Mr. Speaker. But then, as leaders, we must also take responsibility. The county governments are charged with the responsibility of approving building plans, Mr. Speaker. They should be going round through the necessary, the relevant departments and seeing the developments made, Mr. Speaker. It was very sad for me to see the governor for Machakos crying, Mr. Speaker. Well, this is the same person that was supposed to see that things were going wrong, even as these buildings were being put up. And these residents should have been advised, Mr. Speaker, by the county government of Machakos, that what was happening, that these land...
Sorry, your time is up. Senator Mudigi Alexander.
Asante Bwana Spika. Nashukuru kwa sababu leo kumesomwa statement nyingi sana na kamati nyingi wenyekiti walikuwa hapa, haswa mwenyekiti wa elimu na wale wengine. Na pia leo statement zile zimesomwa nyingi zikuwa ya elimu karibu 5. Inakuwa ni maajabu mwalimu bila elimu katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ama nchi nyingi, mambo ya elimu haiwezi kuendelea vizuri kwa sababu unakuta mtu amesaliwa kwa kipindi ya miaka 8 anaanza kufundishwa. Kama kuna mtu anafanya kazi nzuri ni mtu anaitwa mwalimu, ni wa primary, ni wa secondary, ni wa aina gani, hata kama anafunza upande gani. Kwa hiyo naomba kutoka leo mwenyekiti wa elimu uende uangalie kwa nini kila wakati yote watu wanalalamika juu ya elimu. Unakuta mwalimu anafanya kazi kwa kipindi, unakuta saa nyingine hata akienda retire alipo pesa zake, unakuta hata hakuna maruvuruvu, lakini unakuta saa nyingine yeye mwenyewe anaenda hata kuangalia mtihani. Na ndio tuweze kupunguza mambo ya kuharibu mitihani ama kuwa na njia zile asifai, mpaka mwalimu mambo yake awe yakiangaliwa. Kutoka zamani kwa kila mwaka kuna elimu ya secondary na ya primary, lakini unakuta wanaamini kuharibu pesa yao. Kwa hiyo naomba wakienda kuangalia mambo ya walimu kuweze kuangaliwa vizuri, vile wataweza kuwa wakienda kufanya kuangalia mtihani waweze kulipa pesa zao, ama walipwe mbele, ama kuwe na wanaongea na mnagani na wale watu wa NEC. Kwa hiyo naomba kamati iende ichunguze hiyo mambo ya walimu kabisa. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Gloria Roba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to add my voice on the statement that has been sought by Senator Mudigi on the welfare of the teachers who are engaged in the upcoming exams in terms of administering and marking the national exams. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that for the first time, I think in the Senate, we are having an opportunity to play oversight on matters that have not yet occurred. Instead of sitting and waiting for teachers to complain that they have not been paid after they have administered the exams and they have marked the exams, for the first time, I think the Senate now can play oversight. So I support the request by Senator Mudigi in terms of having the transparency of those contracts and the engagement of those teachers, so that we can be able to see, first of all, are they actually being paid enough to administer and to mark those exams? And in terms of the conditions that they have, Mr. Speaker, we know that at times that these teachers are being put in very cramped up areas, and they're expected to have high output. So for the first time in Senate, if we can be able to see to it that the welfare of these teachers who will be marking exams is proper before the exams come, then I think that we will be breaking the record in terms of the upper house and oversight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mutinda Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise first starting with the statement from Senator Mundigi. I really support it very much, Mr. Speaker, because all of us seated in this house, Mr. Speaker, went through an education system. If these exams were not marked at our own time, then I don't know where we would be. We pride in teachers in these institutions. We are a product of the education system. And so I really do support that this information in regards to the contracts that they've engaged in terms of during the examination period should be disclosed. It is one thing to disclose, it is another to ensure that these payments are done. These are teachers who have families. These are teachers that also take care of our children out there. These are teachers who shape the generation to come. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to touch also on the statement by Senator Hamida in regards to the demolitions in Mavoko. And I want to say that I support this statement because the Mavoko land is an Ukambani land. And it is the high time that to state that the region that I come from, Mr. Speaker, we are very saddened by what has happened. Families have been really affected. But I want to note that cartels who have been mentioned by the DCI should be responsible and should answer questions to us Kenyans in regards to as to why they fraudulently led Kenyans to this kind of menace, whereby they collected funds, they collected money. The former governor Mutua came out in 2015 and pronounced himself and said that this land is not private land and members should be very careful in terms of issues whereby they are being sold this land fraudulently. So it is the high time that even that list is expanded to ensure more culprits are put in place so that they can be able to compensate these victims who have been affected, Mr. Speaker. It is sad. We continue stating that.
Thank you. Senator Nderito John.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Nataka kupongeza taarifa iliyoletwa na Mundigi na vile vile taarifa iliyoletwa na Cherargei. Bwana Spika, mimi ninajua ya kwamba mfanyikazi wote wa serikali anapoajiriwa anaandika ya kwamba yeye anaweza kufanya kazi mahali popote katika Jamhuri ya Kenya. Lakini Bwana Spika, iko wakati kunakuwa mambo unga maji yanazidi unga Bwana Spika. unapata sehemu zingine katika Jamhuri ya Kenya, Bwana Spika, unapata hakuna usalama wowote. Watu fulani, Bwana Spika, wanashambuliwa, Bwana Spika. Maisha, kwa sababu ni jukumu ya serikali kulinda mali na maisha ya mwananchi, Bwana Spika. Mtu akipata ameenda sehemu ambayo maisha yake yako hatarini, Bwana Spika. Walimu wale ambao walienda sehemu ambazo hakuna usalama, wakasema ya kwamba ni vizuri watolewe katika sehemu zile, lakini taasisi ya elimu, Bwana Spika, kuenda na kuwafuta kazi, Bwana Spika, huo ni unyama, Bwana Spika, ambao unapaswa kukemewa na kila mtu. Kwa hivyo walimu ni wananchi wa Kenya na wana uhuru na haki ya kufanya kazi mahali popote wanapotaka, lakini Bwana Spika, mtu hali yake kukiwa na hali hatari. Wakati huu, Bwana Spika, tunapoongea tunaambiwa kuna El Nino. Watu wanaambiwa wahame waende katika sehemu ambazo ziko juu. Usipoenda sehemu hizo, basi utabaki kuangamia. Vile vile hata wale walimu, Bwana Spika, wakiona maisha yako katika hatari, wanapaswa kuambia serikali, na ni vizuri waondolewe katika zile sehemu, kwa sababu kulijulikana kuna watu fulani ambao walisemekana hapaswi kuwa katika zile sehemu. Bwana Spika, Mundigi amesema vizuri, walimu nao ambao wanashughulikia mambo ya mitihani. Bwana Spika, wale ni walimu wanafanya kazi ambayo ni nzuri sana, wanaangalia mitihani ya vile wanafunzi walivyofanya. Bwana Spika, wasipoangaliwa vizuri, tunaweza tukajipata wanafunzi wanapata alama ambazo sizo zao, kwa sababu walimu ambao
okay. Next order. Next order.
The last one.
There is a statement by the majority leader, majority whip.
Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1, I hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing 31st of October 2023, and as you are aware, in accordance with the Senate calendar approved on the 6th of February 2023, the Senate will proceed on a one-week recess at the rise of the House today. Regular sittings of the Senate will resume on Tuesday, 31st October 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the sitting of the Senate held on 12th of October 2023, the Senate passed 5 bills, namely the Learners with Disability Bill, the Equalization Fund Administration Bill, the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, the Digital Health and the Social Health Insurance Bill. And Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to report that the diligence and tireless effort in debating and ultimately passing these bills demonstrated your commitment to serving the best interests of our country. And Mr. Speaker, I have just come from a presidential function where he's given assent to these bills, and I'm glad to report, Mr. Speaker, to the House that the President has given high comments about the work of the members of this House and, of course, the National Assembly as far as this bill is concerned. However, we still have a long way to go before the end of the session, as there are 29 bills that are pending conclusion. Of these, 23 bills are at the second reading, while 6 are at the Committee of the Whole stage. A number of these bills, Mr. Speaker, that are at the second reading stage were recently read as a first time. I take this opportunity to urge the respective standing committees to prioritize consideration of these bills and to table reports therein pursuant to the Standing Order number 148. I also urge the respective movers of the bills at the second reading stage to be available to the chamber whenever they are scheduled in the order paper to prosecute them. For the Senate to conclude consideration of bills at the different stages said above, it is necessary for the requisite number of county delegations to be present in the House. I therefore urge the party whips to ensure that a sufficient number of county delegations is achieved for division on bills to be undertaken when due. Mr. Speaker, sir, 18 motions are pending conclusion before the Senate and are accordingly scheduled by the Senate Business Committee in the program of the Senate Business for each week. I urge the respective movers of these motions to be available in the chamber when motions are listed in the order paper so as to move them. With regard to petitions, the Senate has received 40 petitions. Out of these, 9 have been reported on by the respective standing committees. Pursuant to Standing Order number 238-2, 24 other petitions are due for reporting by the respective standing committees. The following, Mr. Speaker, is the schedule indicated in the standing committees that are yet to report on the said petitions. 1. Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, 2 petitions. Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, 1 petition. Committee on Education, 2 petitions. Committee on Finance and Budget, 1 petition. Committee on Health, 1 petition. Committee on Legal Affairs, Justice and Human Rights, 1 petition. Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, 2 petitions, and the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, 7 petitions. Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Affairs, 2 petitions. Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing, 4 petitions, and that on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism, 1 petition, giving a total of 24 petitions, Mr. Speaker. I urge the standing committees to redouble their efforts and conclude the petitions within the coming days and to take reports thereon as provided for in our standing orders. On the matter of statements, 218 statements are pending conclusion by respective standing committees. I urge the committee to expeditiously, Mr. Speaker, consider the statements before them and to table the reports pursuant to the standing orders. I also urge the committee chairpersons to make use of the standing order number 56-1 to update this House on the progress on respective statements or any other business that is before them. Mr. Speaker, sir, at the meeting of the Senate Business Committee held on the 17th of October 2023, the committee approved the next set of questions to be scheduled in the order paper for Wednesday, 1st of November 2023 during the morning sitting. You will note, Mr. Speaker, sir, that they are the same questions that had been scheduled for yesterday. The summary of the questions are as follows. 1. Question number 18 by Senator James Lamelen, MP, to the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs on the inaction of the Kenyan government to hasten the release of the Turkana pastorists arrested in Uganda. 2. Question number 19 by Senator George Mbugua, MP, to the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Health, concerning the accessibility of health facilities and services to persons with disabilities. Question number 41 by Senator James Murango, MP, to the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, Performance and Delivery, Management, concerning categorization of Moya constituency as a hardship area. And finally, but not least, question number 63 by the distinguished Senator of Kakamega, Dr. Boni Khalwale, MP, to the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Health, on the status of completion of the construction of the project for the development of the Kakamega Teaching and Referral Hospital. Mr. Speaker, at its meeting held on the 17th of October 2023, the Senate Business Committee deliberated on the matter of non-appearance of cabinet secretaries to respond to questions and resolved that the matter be brought to the attention of His Excellency the President. Cabinet secretaries who fail without reasonable cause to appear before the Senate will be censured pursuant to Standing Order number 51D. In the meantime, my office will continue engaging the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, in whose docket Parliamentary Affairs is domiciled, to ensure that Cabinet Secretaries appear before this House when so scheduled. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, but not least, I want to thank the Houses of Parliament for passing a resolution for the extension of the mandate of the National Dialogue Committee. As a member of the committee, I want to assure the people of Kenya that we shall work tirelessly and thereby submit a report within the extended time. I thank you and hereby lay this statement on the table this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Point of order on the statement from the majority leader, or what is your point of order, Senator King?
Asante Bwana Spika. Nataka tu kuungana na kiongozi wa walio wengi na kumpongeza rais kwa sababu ya kutia sahihi mswada na kawa sheria ndio Kenya, Bwana Spika, tuweze kuchangamkia mambo ya afya, kwa sababu afya ni muhimu sana katika nchi yetu, Bwana Spika. Nchi haiwezi kuendelea mbele, Bwana Spika, bila watu kuwa na afya njema. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono taarifa hiyo, Bwana Spika, na vile vile kumpongeza kiranja walio wengi Boni Khalwale kwa kazi nzuri ambayo amefanya kutuleta pamoja na kupiga kura ndio hii misaada iweze kupita. Kwa hivyo nampongeza sana kiranja walio wengi, na vile vile kiongozi wa wachache na kiongozi wa walio wengi Senator Aaron Cheriot. Na vile vile Bwana Spika, nataka, kwa sababu katika taarifa ile ilisema ya kwamba kuna wenyekiti wa kamati ambao wamefanya kazi nzuri sana, kuna dua zimepelekwa pale, kuna maombi mengi, na nataka kwa hii kusema yule ambaye amechangamkia kazi yake sana ni John Methu, senator wa kutoka Nyandarua, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu mambo ya mashamba anaishughulikia vilivyo na tegemeo letu ni kwake, na vile vile viongozi wote, na anasema asante Bwana Spika, na anapongeza rais kwa kazi nzuri ambayo amefanya. Asante Bwana Spika.
Bwana Kenywa, inaonekana hutapata nafasi kama hiyo tena. Kama huwezi pongeza spika na yeye ndiye anafanya kazi kuliko mwingine yote, sasa wewe umekanyanga ile live wire. Next order, kindly.
Order number 8, the County Assembly Services Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 34 of 2023. First reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the County Assembly Services Act and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the Real Estate Regulation Bill, Senate Bills number 35 of 2023. First reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the regulation of the business of negotiating for or otherwise acting in relation to the selling, purchasing, or letting of land and buildings, regulation and registration of real estate agents, land companies, and developers, establishment of the real estate board, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Adoption of the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on the application for conferment of city status to the municipality of Eldoret.
Thank you. On this motion, the debate was interrupted on Tuesday, 17th October 2023, and Senator Joe Nyotu, and a balance of 18 minutes So if he is around, he can utilize his minutes. And if he is not, then I'll give any other senator wishing to contribute to the motion. So, according to my screen here, there is no senator who is wishing to proceed and contribute. Therefore, and the mover is not around also as well. The chair devolution. So we will go to the next order. So the mover, next time, the mover will be able to get the opportunity to reply. Next order.
Next order.
What is your point of order, Majority Whip?
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to appeal for your support of the need for us to conclude business. Since this is a fairly straightforward motion, and I'm representing the majority of the House this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, I want to plead that you allow me to respond on behalf of the mover so that we finish with this business to create room for other business to come on the order paper, Mr. Speaker. Your discretion.
Yes. Senator Medu.
Honorable Speaker, I have a lot of respect to my majority whip, who is our government whip. But I actually feel that as it has been the custom here, Honorable Speaker, if the chair has not subrogated such powers to you to respond on his behalf, it will be unfair. Because Senator Abbas has been in this chamber as Honorable Speaker, and if he wanted any of us indeed to respond on his behalf, obviously he would have delegated. And number two, even though I know the whip knows that we are under pressure to conclude some of these businesses, ultimately I know, Honorable Speaker, this motion will require that we vote, and maybe we may not even have the requisite delegations to vote ultimately. So, however much we want to fast-track this particular business, Honorable Speaker, at some point I feel that we will be stuck. So I think I agree with the ruling that you've made that you allow Senator Abbas to come and reply when he is back in the chambers.
Honorable Senators, the reason that I might be very hesitant to conclude this business is that during debate, maybe senators give some input to this motion. And the only custodian of whatever happened is the chair of the committee. So I think it will be very unfair if we conclude this motion without his notice, without his presence, because maybe we might benefit from the discussions that were made during the debate. So thank you, Majority Whip.
How do you want us to?
So, honorable senators, Senator Dr. Oburu. So, Senators, I want to reorganize the business in the order paper from order number 11. We go to order number 19. Next order.
Order number 19, the Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill, Senate Bills number 29 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Milaj Abdullahi Abdulrahman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill (2023) Senate Bills number 29 of 2023 be now read a second time. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Majority Whip, what is your problem today? You know, you have just said you were in a presidential function.
Yes.
You are still excited to be the president. Yeah?
Mr. Speaker,
what is out of order again?
Yeah? It's a question of procedure and practice and etiquette. It is starting to occur, Mr. Speaker, that you need to give further guidance to members of this House. Speaking from the dispatch box, he's reserved, Mr. Speaker, to the leadership of the House. It is called practice and etiquette. You can see they don't know. Mr. Speaker, can you guide the distinguished senator?
Majority Whip behind.
Mr. Speaker, can you kindly request the mover of the motion to go back to her place and move the motion, because this is the dispatch box. It is reserved. Big mistake. I'm telling you.
Senator Miraj.
That the Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill 2023, Senate Bills number 29 of 2023, be now read a second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, the principal objective of the bill is to provide a legal framework for the care and protection of child parents within the county.
Kindly, because you have almost 1 hour to speak to your motion, let me first recognize the visitors and then you'll be uninterrupted for the time you want to speak. Honorable Senators, we have our visiting teachers and students from Mawingo Secondary School in Nyandarua County. Honorable Senators, in the public gallery, we have 41 students accompanied by 2 teachers from Mawingo Secondary School in Nyandarua County who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in a usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Senator Medu John, 2 minutes to welcome the visitors from Nyandarua County.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Please allow me to use this dispatch that I have had today that is a preserve of the leadership in which I serve as a chairman of a committee. Honorable Speaker, I am very excited to welcome the students and teachers from Mawingu Secondary School in Kipipiri. Honorable Speaker, the students and teachers who are here hosted ourselves and the Deputy President on Saturday last week, Honorable Speaker. And I'm very excited that the biggest group of the students who are here, Honorable Speaker, are boys or young men from that particular school, which from next year, Honorable Speaker, will be a girls' school. So I'm very happy that the students who are here are, the last lot, they have had an opportunity of coming to the Senate so that they can be able to see how we transact our business. My only comment, Honorable Speaker, as I have always said, they should pay a lot of attention and put a lot of effort and hard work in their studies, Honorable Speaker. The reason why some of us got an opportunity of coming all the way to the Senate, Honorable Speaker, is because at least we got we paid some attention in our school work, Honorable Speaker. We were hardworking and we excelled in academics, Honorable Speaker. There is no other reason why most of us made it up here. So I wish them well as they go back. Those of the who are here that are doing the exams in a week or two, I give them my best wishes. Thank you very much. As they go back home, please pass my greetings, say hello to your parents, and thank them for voting for me, and ask them to vote for me again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Proceed, Miraj.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I beg to move the Care and Protection of Child Parent Bill 2023, Senate Bills number 29 of 2023, for the second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, the principal objective of the bill is to provide a legal framework for the care and protection of child parents within counties. The framework is intended to ensure that an expectant child or a child parent may actualize their right to basic education, at the same time ensure proper care of their children as enshrined in Article 53 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, sir, in this bill, I intend to see that the child parents get their constitutional rights of accessing education with as much as they get early pregnancies. I also intend to ensure that the infants get to be looked upon through the county government, through the CEC's education. Mr. Speaker, sir, 60 years since Kenya gained its independence from colonial rule, child pregnancies has remained a huge concern, as they not only affect the child's ability to continue with education, but they also impact on the government's effort in reducing poverty level in the country. As I had earlier stated that when these children get pregnant, it ends up that we continue living in a cycle of poverty because they don't get a second chance to access education, which is the only determination of success of these children. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in Kenya Demographic and Health Survey conducted in 2022 noted that 15% of adolescent women aged between 15 and 19 years have ever been pregnant, with 12% having given birth, 1% experiencing pregnancy loss. Mr. Speaker, sir, 3% being pregnant with their first child. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics further noted that the number of teenage pregnancies is higher in rural setups, particularly in the pastoralist communities. Compared to urban areas, it is further noted that teenage pregnancies declines as the level of education rises. Further, that it is also declines as the level of household wealth increases. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, in Article 53, 1B and B, C, and D, provides for the right of a child to free and compulsory basic education, the right to basic nutrition, shelter, and health care, the right of protection from abuse, neglect, harmful cultural practices, all forms of violence, inhuman treatment, punishment, and hazardous of exploitative labor. Mr. Speaker, sir, Section 13 of the Children Act number 29 of 2022 reiterates the right of a child to basic education and mandates the Cabinet Secretary in charge of children matter, in consultations with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education, to develop and implement policies for the realization by every child of the constitutional right to education. The Basic Education Act number 14 of 2013 provides that no child shall be denied admission to a public school. The above notwithstanding, children with fall pregnancy in school, especially those born in poor households, are likely to drop out of school so that they can fend for their children. This not only impacts on their rights to education, but also exposes them to early marriages and exploitative labor practices as they seek to fend for themselves and their children. Mr. Speaker, sir, some schools conduct mandatory pregnancy tests without consent of the children, and more often that not only expel any student who is discovered to be pregnant, such children are also exposed to ridicule and harassment and are often cited as examples of bad behaviors, thus leading them to drop out of school. It is also difficult for children who have been pregnant before to be readmitted to the school or another school, as they are often shunned, with school administration fearing that admitting them will also be viewed as tolerating ill behavior from students, which they are afraid of spreading to other students even when their child is readmitted to school. They also sometimes have no one to leave the new baby born with, thus leading them to either delay re-entry to school or making them not concentrate on their studies, hence resulting in poor academic results. Mr. Speaker, sir, existing legislation only provides the right of the children generally and does not take care of the circumstances unique to child parents. The laws do not provide for how children who fall pregnant are to be handled by the school administrations during their pregnancy and after delivery. They also do not provide for ways of ensuring that once they have given birth, they are readmitted to school and heavy support and access to child care facilities, particularly for those without anyone to take care of their newborn children while in school. There is also no law providing a framework for establishment, management, and inspection of child care facilities as to ensure that they are safe for children. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is therefore need to create framework to children in vulnerable households so as to ensure that they are able to complete their basic education and have better chance at having a better quality of life. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill therefore seeks to provide a legal framework for the protection of rights set out under Article 53(1) C and D of the Constitution in relation to child parent. Through this, expectant child or child parent can realize their right to education and at the same time ensure the care and protection of this child. And C, of standards for the establishment and regulation of care centers for child parents by county governments. Mr. Speaker, sir, clauses 4, 5, and 6 of the bill provide the obligation of the national and county governments with respect to preventing pregnant children and child parents from dropping out of schools, as well as social assistance to such children. The two levels of government are expected to collaborate in coming up with programs for social services and child care support, as well as policies reducing school dropout rates in the area. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 7 of the bill for preparation of management plans by the school administrations which are aimed towards reduction of dropout rates, as well as prescribing how pregnant children and child parents will be handled within the school. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 8 of the bill provides the right of pregnant and parenting students, including the right to continue with their studies for as long as they are medically capable of being in school. The right to be readmitted to schools and upon delivery and weaning of the baby, and the right to access adequate prenatal and antenatal health care and counseling services. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 9 of the bill provides the role of county governments in reducing dropout rates, as well as ensuring that those who have dropped out are able to be readmitted to schools, and the vulnerable children who are likely to drop out of schools are catered for so that they remain in school. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 10 of the bill provides for school principals' role in managing teenage pregnancies in the schools. The principal is expected to inform the child's parent once there is suspicion that the child may be pregnant. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 11 provides for medical examination to confirm that the child is pregnant. The child cannot be compelled to undergo medical examinations, and the principal may decline to inform the child's parents of the pregnancy in case they are in danger to the child. Mr. Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, Clause 12 and 13 provide for the pregnant child's right to receive pre- and postnatal health care and information, as well as the right to receive counseling and support services. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 14 provides for confidentiality when handling the case of any child who is found pregnant within the school. Madam Speaker, Clause 15 provides where the persons responsible for the pregnancy is an adult, the school principal should disclose the same to the county director of education, the council of the nearest police station. If the person is a teacher, an additional report is to be made to the Teachers Service Commission. Madam Speaker, Clause 16 provides for readmission of the child to the school once she has given birth. When the baby, she is to be readmitted at the same level she was prior to giving birth. Madam Speaker, Clause 17 provides that the school should not discriminate against the pregnant child while she is in school on account of being pregnant or having given birth. Madam Speaker, Clause 18 requires parents of pregnant children and of child parents to continue with their parental obligations support to their child. Madam Speaker, Clause 19 provides for the school obligation to counsel the child, readmit the child once the child is born and weaned, to continue supporting the child so that they continue with their education. Madam Speaker, Clause 19 provides for the school's obligation to counsel the child, readmit the child once the child is born and continue to support the child so that they can continue with their education. Madam Speaker, Clause 20 makes it an offense for the school administration to refuse to readmit a child once they have given birth. Upon convictions, the school principal, every member of the school administration may be fined to up to cash 500,000 Kenya shillings or jailed for 6 months or both. Madam Speaker, Clause 21 provides for establishment of child care centers in or within the vicinity of an institution of basic education. These may be established by county government or by person licensed to provide child care services. Madam Speaker, Clause 22 provides that the child care services provided are for the benefit of the children less than 3 years old, whose parents are children who are being readmitted to school, or other children whose parents have no one to take care for the child. Madam Speaker, Clause 23 provides for the requirement of a child care center, including its accessibility, affordability, ability to give adequate supervision to the children, and availability of qualified personnel to cater for the children. Madam Speaker, Clauses 24 to 33 provides for licensing of child care centers by counties. Counties are also required to enact legislation to guide the licensing process within the county. It also prescribes how services should be rendered in the child care centers and how the centers are to be managed. Madam Speaker, Clause 35 provides for the services that are to be provided in the child care center, including the care and the supervisions of children, counseling of child parents, outreach programs, and recreational activities. Madam Speaker, Clause 37 provides for inspections and evaluation of safety in safety care and the obligation to keep the premises safe for children to have contacts of emergencies services providers such as hospitals, ambulance services, and firefighting services. Madam Speaker, Clause 42 provides for continued recognition of care centers which are already in existence and are already licensed. It, however, gives the county executive committee members power to give the care a notice requiring them to register afresh under the Act. Implementing the measures proposed in the bill will enhance protection of child parents and ensure that the country moves closer to 100% access to basic education by children in Kenya. Madam Speaker, with those remarks, I beg to move and request Senator Gloria Oroba to come and second the bill. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, before the bill is seconded, I would direct that I reorganize the order paper to allow Senator Mungatana, the chair of the ad hoc committee on Shakahola, to lead the report.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following report on the table of the Senate today, the 19th October 2023. This is the report of the ad hoc committee to investigate the proliferation of religious organization and the circumstances leading to the deaths of more than 95 people in Shakahola, Kilifi. I thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay.
Thank you, Senator Mungatana. Senator Gloria Oroba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to second the bill by Senator Miraj on the protection of child parents. Madam Speaker, before I even add my voice on this, perhaps for purposes of definition, a child parent is any parent who's under the age of 18 years. And we know that in this country, we are dealing with a lot of teenage pregnancies. We are dealing with a lot of injustices, particularly on our girls who are under the age of 18 years, and these injustices sometimes lead to pregnancies and the situation that now we are talking about child parents and teenage girls. Madam Speaker, I am really happy to actually second this bill, because for a long time we've been talking about teenage pregnancies and how to end teenage pregnancies. But while we are dealing with the issues of how to end teenage pregnancies, we are not addressing the issues of what is happening to these children who are pregnant. First of all, it is public knowledge that most of our institutions, actually I think all our public schools and private schools, the moment a girl becomes pregnant, they become it becomes an issue of having to request them or to send them out of school. Madam Speaker, over the weekend, last week, I actually came from a region in Kilifi County called Marafa, where the rate of teenage pregnancies is alarming, where we have a lot of girls who, because of several issues, including sexual abuse, are becoming pregnant. Madam Speaker, the first thing that happens is that they are kicked out of schools. Sometimes they are even kicked out of their homes. So together with the partners that I am working with, we were even looking at how to ensure we have the safety of these girls in terms of their immediate safety, not only the education, but just their safety, Madam Speaker. So we were talking about creating safe spaces for these abused girls who are now pregnant. But Madam Speaker, it became very apparent that in that particular region, and I'm sure in many regions in Kenya, not only in Kilifi County, the first thing is that when a girl is pregnant, when they're in school, they are considered hopeless, and in fact now there's no longer any more investment in that girl. So Madam Speaker, as I go through this bill and look at what it seeks to address, and in terms of protection of the child, Madam Speaker, I want to say that it is high time that we address the issues of the expectant children, the expectant parents. We are talking about the pregnant girls. I am glad to see that Senator Miraj has actually outlined a legal framework to ensure that, for instance, some of the rights, including the basic right to education, is protected of this pregnant girl. Madam Speaker, it has also become apparent that when we are talking about ensuring that bursaries are allocated fairly, Madam Speaker, when it comes to these pregnant girls, automatically they are taken out of the list of bursaries, Madam Speaker. So on the point that I can see here on the care of expectant children and child parents, point 4E, F, where we say that we guarantee funding and sustainability of the initiative and other child welfare programs aimed at benefiting the child parents, Madam Speaker. I believe this also speaks to the point of bursaries, that the pregnant girls in schools are not further discriminated by saying that now they are taken out of the list of the bursaries that is being allocated to the children, Madam Speaker. We have had so many issues of children who are forced to take many medical tests the moment that the institution, particularly the school, finds out that they are pregnant. Madam Speaker, you'll find in some cases they are forced not only to take tests that are touching on the pregnancy, but you will see that they now further subject them to forceful tests, including HIV tests. Madam Speaker, as you have heard the sponsor of the bill explaining that this kind of mandatory tests that are put on the girls, it's not only an issue of isolating them and making them feel that they are now this very dirty creature in an institution, but it also goes against their rights as a child. So, Madam Speaker, I'm glad to see that this bill also addresses that. I want to speak on the issue of readmission to schools, the right to be admitted to school. Madam Speaker, it is not a secret that once a girl becomes pregnant while in school, the first thing is that they are sent home. And while other parents actually seek to look for alternative education measures, maybe they go to another school, you'll find that it is very difficult for them to get these children admitted back to school. Even after they give birth, there is a notion that they are going to infect the other girls with bad behavior, Madam Speaker. So this bill is there to address that. As much as whatever situation has happened and the girl has found themselves pregnant, that their rights to education are not, they are not declined of their right to education. Madam Speaker, the issue of prenatal and postnatal care for these child parents is a very concerning issue. In fact, there was a statement that was brought on the floor of the House yesterday with regards to a girl that passed away in Dagoretti North, and on touching on several issues, including prenatal and postnatal care. The negligence that we see in terms of making sure that these child parents don't even have that access to these facilities. So I'm glad to see that this is one of the things, this is one of the things that the bill is setting to cure, to ensure that whether this pregnant girl is under the age of 18, they are able to have access to prenatal and postnatal care and the information that they require. Madam Speaker, we have guidelines and policies that speak on the readmission to schools and actually the care that our county governments and national governments should give to child parents. But what we are lacking is the actual regulations, the actual proper law that will now be able to be exercised so that we don't have certain injustices that are already happening to these girls, who most of them are not pregnant because of choice, but are pregnant because of sexual abuse. They are pregnant because some of them went out to, for instance, look for ways and means to get, for instance, sanitary pads, and then they found themselves pregnant. It is just an issue of discrimination after discrimination and injustices after injustices, and then they find themselves in a situation where they require that as legislators we stand up and push for legislation that is going to protect them, Madam Speaker. As I second this bill, I want to highlight the fact that when we speak of child parents, we are only talking of girls most of the times. But Madam Speaker, sometimes the teenage pregnancies are as a result of what in your legal sense you call Romeo and Juliet, as a result of boyfriend, girlfriend, both underage. The boy is underage, the girl is underage, and the girl finds herself pregnant. We don't normally talk of the boy child in this instance, but there are many situations where even the boy child is castigated and sent away from the community, from that particular school, from that particular institution. So I think this is also a reminder that is why we are not calling it a teenage girls bill. We are calling it child parents, because child parents exist in girls and child parents exist in boys as well. So therefore, this bill is not only to protect the girl child, but this bill is also there to protect the boy child in the event that both the girl and the boy happen to be under the age of 18, and therefore their rights should be protected. The right to education, the right to health care, the right to proper information, the right to being able to continue with their lives as a child, but with the understanding that they are now parents. Madam Speaker, I want to highlight a section where we are proposing that the county governments actually look into the issue of the care of children within a care center. Madam Speaker, once the teenage girl or the child parent has delivered that child, and we put expectations for this parent to go back to school, to be able to pursue their dreams just as they would have pursued their dreams had they not become pregnant. The question is, what happens to the child? Because it is known that once you give birth, then as a parent now, you are expected to breastfeed for 6 months or more. You are expected to be a caregiver of another child. So as we are saying that you have the right to admission back to an institution, to an education institution, we also want to bring in the county governments and the national government to look into the issue of the care centers. Madam Speaker, let me highlight part 4, and that is 32 of this bill, where it states that in delivering childcare services under this act, a licensee shall ensure that there is established a system for sharing with parents information on matters that may affect the children cared for in the center. Sorry, maybe let me just back that up a little bit. Establishment of care centers. That is part 4 of the bill, 21. A county government may establish and maintain such care centers as it may consider necessary for the care of children of not more than 3 years of age. A county government may, for the purposes of subsection 1, establish care centers in or within the vicinity of an institution of basic education and training in order to ensure access to such facilities by a child parent. What we are saying is that these care centers that have been existing, sometimes they require that the parent produces the ID, which, as you know, for a child parent, they will not be able to produce an ID, an identification card. So therefore, it becomes difficult for a child parent to be able to take their child now to that particular care center. And what we are saying for this bill is that some of those regulations that are there in the care centers should be able to reflect the fact that we have child parents who might not have identification cards, and so therefore their children are denied the access to that care center. So, Madam Speaker, because we want these child parents to go back to school and we want them to continue to pursue the dreams that they have, we are saying that the establishment of these care centers that are already in existence and some that will come up should be able to reflect the fact that they are accommodating the existence of child parents. That means that they should not discriminate the facilities or the services against the child parents. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say this. In my short stay in Marafa, an area that is in Kilifi County, where we went to look into the issue of teenage pregnancies and HIV prevalence on teenage pregnancies and young mothers, I noted that there was a lack of understanding from the institutions that are supposed to guide and ensure that our child parents are protected. For instance, Madam Speaker, on the issue of establishing whether the pregnant girl was actually sexually abused or if it was a case of Romeo and Juliet, you find that the hostility that the child parent, especially the girl, receives, the teenage girl receives, is so high that they just choose not to give information, Madam Speaker. So even as I second this bill, I want to urge Senator Miraj to consider perhaps adding a statement or two in terms of the protection of the child parent in relevance to how the child parent became a parent. What I mean to say is, I think it would be proper, not only for purposes of documentation, but for purposes of ensuring that we are not further stigmatizing victims of sexual abuse who happen to be child parents. I think it would be proper that we add not only the issue of the establishment of care centers by county government, but what about the psychosocial support of the teenage girls who are actually pregnant because they have been abused, because they have actually gone through very, let me say, a hostile environment that actually has not been able, the teenage girl has not been able to even give a documentation of how they found themselves in that situation. As we are dealing with the return or readmission to school, as we are dealing with the postnatal and prenatal access to information, and even county governments ensuring that there are those centers, can we also find a way, maybe not or within this bill, to also establish psychosocial support for these child parents so that they may be able to be guided on how to be parents? Because remember, these are children who are now having children, whatever the circumstances. And I believe that is something that is is needed based on what I was able to witness in Marafa in Kilifi County, based on what I have been able to witness even in my own county, in Kisii County, and different places in Kenya, that we need to establish some sort of law that will make sure we are not encouraging the child parents. We are not encouraging that we are creating room to have more children who are having children, because we are sort of incentivizing it. The idea of this bill is not to promote teenage pregnancies. The idea of this bill is to understand that we have a lot of teenage pregnancies and we have a lot of children who are now parents. So what do we do about that as we are trying to mitigate to ensure that we bring an end to teenage pregnancies? Madam Speaker, with those remarks, I want to thank Senator Miraj for actually bringing a very important piece of legislation that is very much needed. And I hope that as we discuss it in the House, my fellow senators may see that this is something that we urgently need to pass into law and work with the county governments to be able to implement. I beg to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill, Senate Bills number 29 of 2023, be now read a second time. Honorable Senators, I want to now invite those senators who are interested to contribute to this bill, and I call upon Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Senator...
It's not Mr. Speaker, Senator Karen Nyamu.
It's your hair. Confusing. I'm joking.
Senator Nyamu, you're out of order. It has nothing to do with hair. It's identity. If you cannot identify the speaker on the chair, how will you debate?
My profuse apology,
withdraw.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
I withdraw totally. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to congratulate my senator colleague, Senator Miraj Abdullah, for this very crucial bill. And Madam Speaker, I think we can see the impact of affirmative action, of having provided in law and mechanisms to have more women in leadership, because such a bill can only, and I dare say, can only be brought to the floor of this House by a lady, because we are the ones, women are, in their own nature, are sensitive to the things that the other gender may not be able to identify with. And this bill provides for a framework to ensure that the child is protected and the rights of the child are protected as provided for in the Constitution and in Article 53 of the Constitution, Madam Speaker. I want to also highlight that the other rights that are the child's rights that are protected, the right to education, the right to having the child, the born child protected, the child, and a standardized care center where they get the very basic need and quality care of the child, of the unborn child, and eventually the born child. So Senator Miraj, mine is just to congratulate you and support this bill fully and urge other members to support it and expedite when that time comes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Senator
Madam Speaker.
Danson Mungatana.
Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi na mimi niongee kuhusu mswada huu ulioletwa na Mheshimiwa Senator wa Mombasa County nominated Senator Madam Miraj. Mama Speaker, mswada huu ambao unaongea kuhusu haki na kuchunga watoto ambao wanapata mimba ama wanatunga mimba wakiwa bado wanaenda shule, wakiwa bado ni wa miaka michache ama midogo, watoto ambao wanapata mimba kuzaa watoto wenzao. Hii sheria ambayo tunataka kuitunga kwa seneti hii, Mama Spika, ni sheria kubwa sana na ni ya maana sana. Mama Spika, Tana River County tuko na shida kwa sababu sisi ambao tunafanya kazi ya sheria na pale makotini unakutana na hizi dhulma za watoto wadogo ambao wanapachikwa mamimba katika hali ya kutatanisha sana, na ili hali wao bado ni watoto wa kwenda shuleni. Madam Speaker, unakuta ya kwamba mtoto ambaye anapachikwa mimba katika kaunti yangu, kuna mazungumzo ambayo wazazi wanajaribu kuingia ili kufanya maslaha ama kujaribu kumaliza yale maneno kinyumbani. Sisi ambao tumeenda kotini mara nyingi tunaona dhulma kwa ajili watoto hawa ambao wamedhulumiwa. Tena kuna tabia ya kujaribu kuyamaliza haya maneno kinyumbani, ambao sasa unapata msichana mdogo tayari ameshapachikwa mimba, shuleni ametoka na maisha yake yashaharibika, kisha kuna mazungumzo ambayo yanafanywa ili watu wajaribu kujiokoa. Hii sheria imekuja kuelezea vizuri sana ya kwamba ikiwa ni mtu mzima ambaye amejihusisha na kuhadaa watoto na kupachika mimba watoto, sheria hii inasema mambo ya maslaha hakuna tena katika Kenya. Tunataka hii sheria tuipitishe ili zile mila ambazo zinaumiza wasichana wetu wadogo tuzimalize na tuziondoe kabisa katika Kenya hii. Iwe tuko Tana River, iwe tuko Nairobi, tuko Mombasa, hizi mila ambazo zinajaribu kugandamiza mtoto wa kike tunataka tuzimalize kabisa katika Kenya hii. Kwa hivyo mimi nasimama kuunga mkono haswa vipengele ambavyo vinasema ya kwamba mtoto akipata mimba wazazi wasimfiche yule mtoto. Tunataka hawa wasichana wetu ingawaje wamepata mimba wakiwa ni wadogo wasaidiwe kurudi katika mashule yao. Kesi ambazo tunaziona mara nyingi ni kwamba watoto hawa wanafichwa, na tunaona sana wazazi ambao watoto wao